Good morning. This is Bill from Auto Europa Naples, and I'm very happy today to have a car from one of my all-time favorite car companies that, of course, is now not really existing in any proper sort of way. This is a 2008 Saab 9.3 convertible. Saab is an incredible company. It really and truly is. It's certainly a fascinating company. It began in the late 1930s, and Saab itself essentially stands for Swedish Airplane Corporation. It's, of course, in Swedish it adds more letters, but that's essentially what it is. That was the four capital letters Saab. Then they, combined with other companies. First this little company, Niven or something, I can't remember it, and then finally Scania to get into other types of things. But essentially they were created in the 1930s because everyone was scared to death of Adolf Hitler and his big German war machine. So yet again, the Nazis create sort of a thing that affects us even to this day. This car is it a real Saab? Yes, it is a real Saab. I mean, it is basically GM based. It's the Malibu platform with the Epsilon platform, the Pontiac G6, that sort of thing. But of course, one of the reasons Saab no longer exists is because their engineers and their production team refused to get as corporate GM as the leaders at GM wanted them to be. But we'll get into all that in a minute. Anyway, in the late 1930s, there were two engineers, Sexton, I can't remember his name exactly, and a guy named Gunnar Jorgensen. And they were a couple of geniuses, truly. In fact, Jorgensen was one of the guys who retrieved Hitler's V-2 rocket that had crashed in Sweden, took it out, drew pictures of it, did some technical drawings, that sort of thing, and sent it off to the British as a, sort of spy versus spy thing. Some people say he took that V-2 rocket and, essentially designed the first Saab from that, which I want to say was the Model 92. Pretty incredible. That Model 91 was an airplane, by the way. So, but anyway, here I am rambling on. Saab was invented to create airplanes because Sweden believed that a strong defense required armaments, and the airplanes that they had in the Royal Swedish Air Force, they were all really crappy, so they needed to be updated. And that began a thing where Saab started building, better airplanes under license. They built some German airplanes under license, I believe Juncker's bomber, and then some Grumman, airplanes. And what they learned from assembling those under license, they then put towards their own program and started building their own airplanes. And that actually has blossomed into a rather incredible fighter jet industry, of which Saab, has a very proud part and uses extensively in their advertising. Anyway, these two great engineers came together and they designed a car that nobody had ever really seen before. Its airplane roots were obvious. It didn't look like any other car on the road. It had all sorts of advanced, at the time, construction and safety features that people just absolutely loved, and had a very cool two-stroke motor that's, gone on to be a bit controversial, certainly beloved by the original enthusiasts, and, looks like a mosquito fogger to the rest of us. But anyway, Saab had this great long run where they, made some really fascinating cars, and they generated a group of loyalists that make, the Grateful Dead followers look like Johnny-come-latelys. I mean, these guys are dedicated nut jobs, the ones who really and truly love Saab. So it must have been devastating, truly, when GM, bought them, and, then eventually the whole thing just disbanded. A very tough time for Saab guys. Rambling on, I want to go into the 99, the 99 Turbo, the 900. I mean, these were all just such fantastic cars. My dad bought a new 900 back in '84. Not a single option on it. It had a 5-speed transmission that was manual, which it just felt like the shifter was connected to the rest of it with ropes. But man, for a Swedish farm tractor, it was so lovable, so neatly engineered, and so damn different from everything else. And man, that classic 900 just won me over, and I became, a Saab guy myself. Anyway, by the time this thing rolled around, Saab had mated with GM. They did that to try and stay competitive. It's hard being a, small car company from a fairly small country and build world-class cars that compete with BMW, Audi, Toyota, that sort of thing. So they figured they had to, get in with GM, but they made a deal with the devil, and it just didn't end well for them, even though the cars were pretty great, including this one. So let's get into this thing. Again, this is an '08, a couple years before they stopped making cars. So much of it is General Motors based, and even though, the parts are very Saab, the underpinnings are all very GM. And put your mind at ease about parts. There is a vast supplier of parts networks out there. It's kind of weird the way that's hanging. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, you can see it has a very nice big trunk for a 4-seat cabriolet. We got some mats in there, a little pocket. You've got plenty of room for your golf clubs or anvils or, whatever else you want to stick in there. So, very useful trunk space for a 4-seater. Let's pop the hood. Now, I have to admit that this is a little devastating to me because all vintage and original Saabs had this beautiful pull the hood latch, and the whole hood kind of swept forward and then tilted on the bumper at the front. Not so in this generation. It opens very traditionally. Obviously, that's a lot less expensive to make, and GM, I'm sure, insisted on it. Now in '08, it did get redesigned, this car, and it made the old ones look dated. There was an Aero X concept car, which was absolutely stunning, and Saab borrowed heavily from that for the styling cues on this one, particularly the front light assembly, which is absolutely gorgeous. You've got LEDs up top, you've got the xenons, really, really pretty front end. You've got the Saab grille with the wings flying out on either side, sort of, denoting their airplane lineage. And Saab turbos, of course, they were pioneered, by Saab, essentially, in the mass market. The 99 Turbo was a revelation. It brought them back. Saab had made its reputation on the rally scene in the 50s and 60s. Their cars were incredible in that sort of terrain. But then, their 70 horsepower cars got eclipsed by, Porsche and Audi with their 200 horsepower thing. So they just got out of rallying. Well, when the Turbo came back, the 99 Turbo, it hit the rally scene with a vengeance and really did quite well. So Saab's racing had a big history, big part of why they were successful for so many years. And of course the Turbo became a real thing for Saab. This is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, puts out about 210 horse. You're not going to set any land speed records, but it's more than adequate to get you, merging on the interstate or feeling good about life. And a nice smooth running engine. Compared again to my old, my dad's old '84 Saab, the engine was in backwards, the belts ran at the firewall. This is much more traditional and much more proper, but it just isn't, the weirdness that Saab had. And that's, it's a good thing and a bad thing. Anyway, everything nice under here. This is a beautiful low-mileage one-owner car. Been very well maintained, very properly maintained by die-hard Saab people. This was like, I think the wife drove this, and it was like her 4th or 5th Saab. And they finally gave up the ghost with this car, and I think they moved to a Mercedes or something. But it's a shame to see Saab people go away. Anyway, everything all nice and proper under there. Love the Saab badge, always very, very cool. You can see nice looking alloy wheels, very chunky. Saab's always had this high sort of belt line and big stubby tail with tall rear quarter panels. So this car does sort of retain a lot of that original Saab design. Also sort of a swooping long, front end, which just looks cool. Saabs have never looked like any other car. You hear those roosters down there giving me the creeps. God, that's the last thing I need in the world are roosters. Okay, so Saab, even though it had its roots in sort of economical Scandinavian, Swedish communism type, affordable cars, at a certain point became very popular with the yuppies and went a bit upscale. In the 1980s, it was, on par with the BMW 3 Series, the Audi A4s, that sort of thing. Well, I guess they didn't have A4s in the 80s. It was, 4,000s, 5,000s, that sort of thing. But anyway, so Saabs were a bit of a status symbol, and as a result, they had to dress things up a little bit with leather, and they always had advanced stuff. They always had crumple zones and airbags. They were the first car company to put standard heated seats in a car. They didn't invent them, but they were the first company to use them as a standard thing. And people loved that. They loved the safety. In fact, the 60s Saabs, the whole front end of the car inside, all the seats would fold down and turn into a bed. So if you needed somewhere to sleep with the family, you could convert your little Saab into a rolling hotel room. Kind of weird stuff. The dashboards have always looked like this. They've always been very Saabish, very, very cool. Anyway, let's just get into it. Okay, so, here we go with the, the airplane stuff. Those gauges could be directly out of a Cessna. The black on white look very, very cool. Now, here is a key Saab feature, and that is the starter mechanism here in the center console. Now, there's a couple of reasons that they did that. This car stopped beeping at us for a minute. Good Lord, they learned that from the Germans. Anyway, a couple of reasons they did that. One was they could lock the transmission instead of the steering column, as a safety feature. Another one is they were always afraid when the key was up there that, people would fly forward in the event of, calamity and hit the key and harm themselves. So putting it down here got it out of the way, seemed to be much safer. Let's run the top while we're sitting in here. So to do that, I think we press this guy down. There you can see the back comes up. It releases itself from the header panel. This cool little piece slides back where the top goes. Down goes the top. And then that cool little piece slides forward. Keep your finger on the button and all four windows go down. Something I like a lot, because when you get in the German cars and you put your finger on the button and keep it there, all four windows go up, which makes absolutely no sense to me. Okay, so there it is, top down. You can see the thing becomes quite stylish. You lose that big six-bow soft top up top. And, you get a much sleeker look, the way the belt line curves up and around. It's got this rollover protection here. I like the little humps like on a CLK. These rear headrests are a functional safety device. You got two different antennas here, one for OnStar and one for your radio and your satellite radio. I love the taillight treatment with the black surrounds and the clear centers. It looks very, very cool. I like how it's like 9 cubed instead of 9.3. Your 2-point-T badges, Saab logo. They did manage to keep it a good-looking car. And that's, sorry again for rambling, but that's part of why Saab met their demise, is because GM could not get the Saab engineers to stick with real parts bin stuff and make these cars, really inexpensive to make and have a limited production like Saab would, but with a higher profit margin. There's some story of a GM executive flying into Sweden from Detroit, into Trollhättan or wherever they make these things. He gets in this new Saab 9.5 and they're driving back to the factory, and he looks at the navigation unit and says, what the hell is this? This isn't our nav unit. And they said, oh, no, we made some adjustments to make the... Why? Just pull the thing out of the parts bin and stick it in. You don't have to design your own. You don't have to spend the money on it. But, that's just the way Saab was. It was their institutional thing. They like to be unique. And, at the end of the day, that just didn't meet with GM corporate, plans. I love this body color insert on the top of the door panels. Very, very cool. Lovely fit and finish of the materials here. It's, it's vinyl, but it's nice. Very tight and lovely. The window switches, the design, the map pocket. Very, very simple, elegant, functional, and exactly what Saab is supposed to be. It does have a power driver's seat, manual passenger. You got some lumbar here. Neat little grab thing to get in the back. You got room for your Canadians back there, no issue. You got some nice leg room. The seats are almost all the way back, so it really does have pretty good leg room back there. Nobody's going to be thrilled if you stuff them back there, but if they're your kids or parents or whoever, who cares? Just stuff them in, tell them to shut up. They'll be fine. So check their email or something. All right, let's hop in. You can see it's all very cloudy and misty today. We've got a bit of a cold front coming through, which is fantastic. Been waiting for this for a long time. We're gonna get in the 40s tonight or something. It's very epic. Okay, here you see the nicely laid out instrument cluster, turbo gauge, fantastic, the boost gauge. You got your fuel, you got your water temp, you got your tack. Nice healthy 6500 red line on this thing. 160 mile an hour speedo. Lovely leather steering wheel with little grippities here. You've got your Bluetooth stuff and radio stuff there. You're, all very nice. You go through all your different there, what do you see? Yeah, 43,000. What is it now? That's distance to there. 49 on the clock. You got your stalks for your wipers and your cruise control. Automatic headlights over here. Mirrors in a nice spot up here. The coolest vents ever that you can just sort of steer and aim. I love these because they've got these little stalks, and when you're aiming it at you that you're aiming it at you. When you have these sliders that other cars have up and down, you have to sit there and play with it for a long time to get the thing to hit you in the face. Not so with these. They just aim right at your face the instant you move them around. So all very cool stuff. This is GM parts bin radio straight out of a General Motors car. It's nice. It's got its satellite, and I believe there's Bluetooth in there. If there isn't, whatever. Sorry. I think so, though. It's got phone. It certainly has OnStar. It has the Saab designed cup holder that is very over-engineered and remarkable that it works the way it does, but it does. And it's probably the strangest cup holder on the market. It was really hard for Saab to put cup holders in cars because apparently Swedes, they just do not eat or drink in their cars. It's just not something they do. So for a long, long time, Saab did not have cup holders. Give that a push, and it goes. You've got your dual side climate control there, his and hers. You've got your heated seats. You got little compartments down here. You can't put your 9mm in there because they're going to be visible. We'll have to find a different spot to conceal those, but phone, wallet, whatever, stuff it there. Nice leather shifter with the what is that, kind of a nickel looking top on it. This is a 5-speed. You can tiptronically shift it this way through the 5 speeds, or just leave it and drive. Here's another cup holder down here. What does this thing flip up for? Okay, so your cup holder can just become a storage bin or a cup holder. It's up to you. Also, a little roller can come down. Oh, look at this. Okay, so we're going to put that back and then put the roller down. Nice. Now it's just hidden. Okay, and here we got another outlet for whatever. I don't know if that's USB or not. Probably not. Little place to put stuff. I guess you put your 9mm in there. Glove box, nice big set of books. Looks like an encyclopedia. It's an enormous glove box. I mean, when's the last time you were able to actually fit that much crap in a glove box? You got this big book set. This alone wouldn't fit in a Mercedes glove box. And then you've got all that room back there for bottles of whiskey or, bags of narcotics. Whatever you can stick in there, you're going to have no trouble. All right, what else do we have? I guess that's about it. Saabs have always been a bit simple, and that's part of their appeal. They don't overwhelm you, that's for damn sure. Let's go for a spin. I understand in Sweden there's a real Saab Volvo thing, or at least there used to be, the way there's a Ford Chevy thing. I mean, people are just, vicious towards each other if you're a Saab guy or a Volvo guy. I guess the Volvo won out. Now, Saabs have almost always been front-wheel drive, and God, they would be so cool if this thing were two-stroke. But anyway, they've almost always been front-wheel drive. I won't say they pioneered it, but they were definitely the front runners in it. And, over the years, they have done so much engineering to cut down on torque steer, to cut down on the turbo lag so that it doesn't all of a sudden come on and, make the car feel very uneven or queasy. They just have made it nice and smooth. Put a wheel spin there. I mean, that turbo kicks on instantly, gives you lovely power. Beautiful free revving. I mean, this thing is a real treat to drive. The steering feels nice and light. Some people might argue it's too light, but I think it's fine. especially after driving Benzes, which tend to have heavier steering, at least the old ones. And it just feels nimble, you know, it feels like you want to bounce it around the road. Historically, Saabs have had pretty high ground clearance. They're always really popular in snowy places because they're just fantastic snow cars. We get one more little launch here and see how we do. I bet we get a little bit of torque steer off the line. Yeah, a little bit. Okay, I mean, what a fun car to run down the road. By the design, the top is really quiet, even with the top down. I suspect you can still hear me talking at 60 miles an hour, which maybe you don't want to, but you can. And it's just a great car. And I tell you what, people think because the company died, or at least is in some weird long state of flux, that you can't get parts for it, that they're hard to get fixed. It's all rubbish. I mean, this thing's basically a Chevy Malibu underneath. And there's a huge network of aftermarket and OEM part suppliers out there. So, you know, there was like a 1-year crunch where everyone was scared and parts were hard to find. Not anymore. You get anything you want for this thing at any time. So, really easy to own a Saab now. And you'd be able to buy this 49,000 mile car that, you know, is probably a $50,000 car new at a fraction of the price for a great deal. So benefit from that, and you'll figure out why there's so many dedicated Saab guys out there. If you have an interest in this one, give us a call, 239-298-8000, on the web at aenaples.com. Thank you so much for having a look. We really appreciate it. We'll see you with the next one. Take care.